So yeah, first of all, thank you all for taking your time today and listening to the Skill Boost training number two. Last one was around I think 2 months ago. Uh, so the idea of the Skill Boost trainings that we have prepared for you is to give you a little bit of an insights of specific features that BOS has. I'm going to be addressing a ton of frequently asked questions. I'm going to be showcasing some features that have been around for probably forever, but people are still maybe not using them or maybe don't know how to use them. I think you got the agenda for today, so we are a little bit on short on time to cover all, but I think that we also have plans for future skill boost trainings as well. So don't worry if some things are not going to be covered. We do have a couple of our team members in the chat, so if you will have any questions, feel free to use the chat. Type them into the chat. Our team is gonna, try to answer as many as we can. I think we're also gonna have a kind of sort of a Q&A at the end as well, so I can maybe showcase some of the questions. So yeah, let's get started basically. So the first thing that I'm gonna be showing you here today, so the skill boost trainings maybe not be for the extreme beginners, because I'm not gonna be showing you all the basics of what I'm doing. So you can also always join the introductional trainings that we have every other week, where we dive into the extreme basics. The recordings I think is gonna be published later on YouTube I think as well. So you should be able to see the recording of today's session. So the first thing that I'm actually going to be addressing and showing here is going to be our Jigsaw node. So if I go into the configurator, if I open up and I connect to the Jigsaw server, you can see that there is a Jigsaw node here that I can select. So if you connect to your PC or any Windows machine, this Jigsaw node is going to be not visible for you. So because this Jigsaw node is intended only for the Jigsaw hardware. Of course, if you have Colibri, then you are going to have a Colibri node, but this Jigsaw node is reserved for the hardware information or the hardware settings of the device itself. So if I open it, the node, you can see that at the top we have the KNX driver. This is basically enabling or disabling the whole KNX gateway that is on the device itself. So for any reason, if you want to disable it, you can disable it here. You can also set up here your individual source address. So if you are in, let's say, in ETS, for instance, and you have packages coming in, if you're doing the diagnostics, you can set the address here, and then later on, if some packages come in, you can know exactly where those packages are coming, and you can have this kind of a overview of the whole bus, what's going on. The second functions that we have here for the Jigsaw is going to be the KNX IP server. So this is reserved for your ETS programming. So if you want to program your ETS via the Jigsaw's IP gateway or KNX gateway, you enable the KNX server, you set up the port here. You can also set the service types, and you can see here we have KNX secure. So if you have KNX secure enabled on your your ETS or your KNX project, you enable this KNX secure, and then you can also set up here. Let me just do this, enable secure, and you can see that we have commissioning password and authentication code here as well. So like I said, if you're programming KNX, you can enable this, but if you're not planning on doing any programming, you can always, of course, disable it and just use the normal KNX connectivity. So since I am currently connected to a Jigsaw Pro, I also have the Modbus settings here. So the Jigsaw, as you probably already know, the Jigsaw Pro has a Modbus slash BACnet gateway also integrated. So all of the Modbus settings are eventually here. So you can, of course, enable or disable it. You set up your baud rates, parity, all the basic connection settings for your Modbus connection. So if you are actually planning on using the Jigsaw's KNX IP and Jigsaw's Modbus gateway, I always try to encourage people. I'm just gonna add KNX and Modbus just to show you here. So let's add Modbus in as well. If you are planning on using Jigsaw's internal KNX gateway, I always encourage people to change the default connection type from any of these to Jigsaw. Since this is the driver itself is built around the Jigsaw's hardware, so I will always encourage you to use the Jigsaw as connection type. You can, of course, still use the IP and type in the IP address of the Jigsaw. It's still going to work, but I always encourage you to use the Jigsaw's connection type here. Same goes for the Modbus. So Modbus by default is going to be TCP, and if you have a Jigsaw Pro, I suggest just switching the connection type to Jigsaw and use the Jigsaw's internal connection. When you select the Jigsaw, and if you want to change the Modbus settings, just navigate back to the main Jigsaw node and do all the Modbus settings here. Okay, so the next major thing that we're going to be checking today is going to be our users. So we also get this question, constantly from all around the years. We have different licenses, what are the users, how these users work, how they can, change how the dynamics of the building works using the users. So the idea is to kind of give you majority, if not all, of what's going on actually with the users themselves. So as you can see in this current Jigsaw, project that I have in case basically 3 users. One is, let's say, the system administrator, it could be admin, we have parents, and then we also have children. So in the traditional trainings, I always try to simplify this. What's the difference between users? So let's say you have an apartment building and you have parents. In this case, let's say we have parents is one user and the children is the second user. And let's say the parents don't want the children to have access, let's say, to the cameras, to the HVAC, to alarm systems, to all the, let's say, system information. If you want to limit this visualization, you would then create 2 users. One will be parents, one will be children, and then you can actually limit the visualization to each individual user. The way you do this is extremely simple. You just navigate to your theme, to your visualization. You select whichever node you want to hide, for instance. Let's say I want to hide the alarm panel. You would select the alarm, and here you can see we have users. So this is who sees this panel. And by default, of course, it's seen by everyone. But if I want this to limit to just the parents, I would just select parents, and they are going to be the only one to see this panel. So let's do cameras, for instance. Select the users. And now these are hidden. So if I log in with my parents' account, you see all the panels are here, alarm, cameras, everything is visible. But if I log in with my children account, let's say, you can see that I have a limited, okay, this was pretty open, but by default, when you first log in, this is going to be hidden. So there's no cameras, there's no alarm. So all the panels are hidden for this specific user. Another way you can limit or customize the visualization is that you can actually also create a brand new theme. So let's call this one, let's create another theme. This could be the custom theme. And I'm just going to add some devices in. Let's just add some, let's say, some lights, for instance. So kitchen, countertop. So let's say just these 2 devices. And I can now select, let's say, children. I can select this user. And if I go here under theme, I can actually sign this specific custom theme that I selected. I can sign it. So now if I get logged out from the client, and now when I log in, I'm just going to be seeing this custom visualization that I have created. And this type of visualization show is mostly used for commercial buildings. Let's say you have a hotel or any commercial building, and you want guests that log in to only see their dedicated room, right? So you would then basically, if you have a hotel, in theory, you would then create, let's say a hotel has 20 rooms, you would create 20 different themes, and then you would sign users to their own theme. So when they log in, they only see the devices that are in their actual room. So they're, by any chance, they don't see the cameras and the alarm systems and so on. So this is a just a nice little way how you can limit and how can show a completely different visualization. So each user has, of course, its own credentials. Each user has its own privileges. So at any point, you can, of course, change the login credentials here. You can change the privileges. So administrators, they have, of course, full access to all the software. They see different notifications and so on. And you can see that if I go to children, the privileges are set as guest or let's say user. In this case, if I want to log in with the children account, let's say if I can try it here with the configurator, if I select children and I want to connect to my controller using my guest account, you can see that logins are not working because the user and guest, they don't have access to the configurator. So they only have access to the visualization, so the client. So this is another way you can, of course, limit on how the access works. You can also change here the default language. So let's say we can change this to let's say German, for instance, or what I say to Spanish. German, for instance, and if I log in with my, it was already changed. So if I log in with my children account, I can see that all the translations and UI is already in a different language. And this is again very, very useful if you have a commercial building, a hotel, or whatnot, that you know what kind of guests for where they come, they're logging in. You can change the user beforehand to their country, to their region, to their language. Once they log in, everything is automatically in their language. I think we do have a dedicated step-by-step instructional video just dedicated to this. So I think Flavio can probably link it into the chat so you can see how this works, how the automated sign-in system can work within BOS as well. You can, of course, change the names, the images. One important thing is also here the email address. So email address is important for security reasons, of course. We've forgotten password. I think we addressed this in the skill boost number 1, where I showcased what is required for the password reset. And also, in many cases, the email address is required for the APIs. So for Alexa and Google Home, in some cases, the email address needs to be entered here in order to, connect it to Alexa and Google Home. One thing also here that I noticed that people, we have this question a lot is like, what is the enabled devices? How do I, limit this as well? So if I select, let's say, parents, and if I change the enabled device to true, that means that if I log in with my client to my account, and if I now go to my users and parents, you can see that my device has now been added in. So this function, basically enable devices, will save all the devices that are coming and connecting to the building. This is, of course, very useful if you have a normal project where, if you want to send specific push notification, the device is here. But in some cases, if you have a commercial building, again, like a hotel, of course, you don't want the guests that, are filled with all the devices there. And later on, if there's going to be like a notification that someone that may still have the app installed will receive that notification. So in that case, you can disable this, and then all the new devices that are going to be logging in, they are not going to be stored here under the user. Okay, so these are going to be for the users. The next thing that I'm going to be checking today here also is going to be our time. So of course, time is, if I select time value and select go to value step, we see all the basic time information. So what's current what's current time, if it's a holiday, if not, you can also see Unix time here. If you want this information, this is available as well. If you want to change the time, you of course go here. You can set the time zone. If you have a Windows machine or something like that, you can also use a custom time server here. This will also work. If you want to change it manually, you can go here to change time and date. Set it up manually. You can set up the dates, the time, or you can go to automatic here as well. And then we also have a couple of different tabs that we can check. So the first is, of course, working days. So this is where we predefine what are our working days. So when we're going to work, where maybe we are away, we usually do, Monday to Friday, we are at work. And then you can actually use this. If I go to values, you can see where where is it? Where is it? Is working day. See, is working day is true. So this is a Boolean value that is now available to us, and we can actually use it in the tasks. For instance, if you have let's say shades, let's say, and if you have a specific time of day, the shades go up or down. And let's say during the weekend, you're at home, you want the shades to be lower, you can actually, if the shades are lowered longer, for instance, you don't want to wake up as early, for instance, you can use this as working day. You can use it, shades go up, but if it's a working day, then the shades can stay the same. So this is just a simple example. You can use it, and you can also, of course, trigger other tasks. Some alarm systems and so on can be also triggered here. The next thing we have are vacations. So again, similar to working days and holidays, we add our vacation in. You type in let's say the location. So let's say seaside vacation, and let's say the sea. We know that we're going to be in August, or let's say somewhere in August we're going on vacation, and for a week. So you would enter the vacation period basically, and then again we can use it is holiday value will go to true, and then specific things can also happen. Irrigation systems, alarm systems, movement sensors, the presence simulators, all of this can be triggered, right? Similarly, the same thing can we do for holidays. The difference between holidays and vacations is that holidays are usually annual, so they repeat. So you would just type in here the month and the day, and the holidays are going to be doing the same thing constantly. Currently, vacations, working days, holidays are needed to be done here via the configurator, but we also got a bunch of requests that the clients can do it within the client. So you can expect this to be added in the future as well. So the client could use the phones to add a vacation or a holiday in, and then you'll be able to control the devices directly, basically. So it's going to be just imported in. So the next thing that we're going to be checking before we continue on with the tasks is going to be our sun. So sun is again a very, I think still a very underused and underused task that it is available in BOS. The way it works is basically showing the current location of the sun. So the way it works, I think we're also going to be tweaking this so it's going to be a little bit easier to understand. But here you can see the latitude and the longitude of the sun, and I can open this function up. So opening, and I can type in location. So you can type in, let's say, I don't know, let's go to London, for instance. You type in city, whatever, press search, we find it. And then if I press OK, you can see that the coordinates of the sun or the current position there are going to change. If they are for any reason wrong, you can always, do it via offsets. So day, night, and other offsets are via minutes. And if I go to values, you can see all of this information is now available to us. So different modes. So if it's day, night, dusk, dawn, all of these values are available. You can see sunset, sunrise, all these values of the time, they are also available. And now we can actually use, again, all of this in our tasks. And I can later on, when we're going to be doing some other tasks, I can show you basically how easy it is to just use the sun value. It is available in the software to use it in the tasks. So you can have, different movement sensors can be enabled, disabled during the sun position. So, again, shades, tasks, all of this can be manipulated just by using the sun value, right? You can go, let's say if it's dusk, we can start putting the shades down. The dusk time will change, of course, every day according to the sun position. So you can constantly have the correct values here, and you can, trigger your devices. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to be checking today is going to be a couple of our tasks. So the idea to showcase these tasks is to maybe simplify or maybe improve or optimize your current project, your current configuration, because we see a lot of the support tickets that we do, a lot of the questions that we had, a ton of people are maybe overcomplicating, going directly to the program task, do a lot of ifs, a lot of else, where they could very easily do everything much, much simpler just by, using the tasks that are available. So the first one that we can check here is going to be the min, max, and average task that we have here. I think a lot of the times this task is completely overlooked, and people go and try to recreate it using other tasks. But it's again a very, very simple, extremely simple, but very, very useful task that we can use in the project. Of course, it's in the name what we are doing. We are basically displaying the minimum, the maximum average, and also we are displaying the sum value, so the calculation of the inputs, right? The way it works, I could select basically anything from my configuration, but just to make it a little bit easier, I'm gonna add a couple of values. So let's say value 1, value 2, and let's add just the value 3. Created 3 values, and I'm just gonna drag them into the task. Add them in. Let's go to the visualization. It's gonna be a little bit easier for me to just show you, how easy and how you can use this task, right? Let's add a frame. Let's add our values. So value 1, value 2, 3. Let's add the frame. I'm going a little bit fast here, but at the end I also have a little bit of a visualization options planned as well. So maximum value, minimum, we have average, and we have the count or the sum value. The way it works, extremely simple, extremely useful. We go to the panel, and let's say we change the value 1 to, let's say, 20, right? And you can see the maximum value is going to be 20. The minimum is going to be 0 because these two are 0. The average is 7, so it's divided these two values, and then the sum value is 20. So these values can be extremely useful. Let's say we have temperatures here, and then we have 3 different rooms in the building, and we have temperatures for each individual room, right? And we can see what is the average, what's the maximum, what's the minimum, and then using this information, we can then compensate if we want. We can increase, decrease the temperature between different rooms. If we want to keep it, all the rooms at the same temperature, you can use that information. We can also, let's say, increase this by, let's say, 50, for instance, and all these values are going to be changing. And we can also see the sum value. So we could, in theory, also drag in some, smart power switches, for instance, that is measuring consumption. And we can, again, see different values that come in from different devices, right? We can see what's the consumption on specific switch somewhere, or like a socket, wherever. We can see the minimum, the maximum, average, and we can also see the sum value of these devices. So again, you could use a very, very simple, task, the min, max, and average task. You can use it, you implement it into your configuration, and you can display all of these values here. And there's no need for, calculations and, all of the other tasks to make it hard. You can see how easy it works. Just drag and drop different values in, and then display what's going on with those values. Similarly, we have a gate task, for instance. So gate task, again, people will go above and beyond and add if and else and if and else and do complicated tasks, where you could just add a gate. You select what type of inputs we are checking. So we have, of course, we have and, or, and we have XOR values, and then you can add your inputs here. So this could be, we could go let's say, just to give it just an example, let's say we have some movement sensors, for instance. We could be, let's say, on movement, we could put, let's say, Z-wave sensor. We can add, and I think we can also add in our sun. Again, you can see we can add all of our sun values. For instance, let's say night, and let's say we have a motion sensor that is somewhere on Z-wave, for instance. Entrance, this is just a sample, so it's not actual sensor here. But just by using this gate here, we can see that we have, and using, of course, the end, and then we can go to, let's say, our output value. So what this could be KNX lamp, for instance, right? So this could go to KNX lighting, switching, and let's say outside wall, for instance, right? So just by using this gate, we can say that, okay, if night is true and if Z-wave sensor is true, turn the outside wall on. And you can add more, you can add other inputs here. You can, kind of mix and match together all of the different values. And then just by using a simple gate task, you can see that how we can Now, check different values without unnecessary, program tasks, triggers, if sentences, and do, all the other things, right? And this is very, very useful, like I said, for specific movements or, specific other devices. You can also, check, the if the AC is on, if there's movement, and then maybe trigger specific devices or cameras and so on, or even alarm systems if you have them. So the last function that we're going to be checking today is actually going to be a program task, but this is just because recently we received quite a bit of questions regarding the cameras and security and motion and so on. So this is a very, very simple example that I think we also have a older video on it. And it's just basically showcasing how simple and how powerful specific things can be done just by using our tasks. So we just got, I think we got last or a couple of weeks, we got a bunch of questions regarding, I want to display specific panels, for instance, when there's a movement or when there's something going on in the building, right? This is very, very useful if the client has wall panels, for instance, and let's say the wall panels are somewhere in the room, you can see it, and you are displaying, I don't know, let's say floor plan or whatever your visualization, and there is a specific movement, let's say outside, you get a notification, and you would also want to see directly where the movement is coming from, right? To do this is actually very, very easy to do. We will of course go to our triggers. So what here we can do is we can of course go to our movement sensor, right? We can say there's movement, but if you have an IP camera and if the IP camera also has a movement sensor on it, you can actually select camera here as a trigger. Just change the property from connected to motion. So we are checking the motion, and let's say the motion is equals true. And this is going to be our trigger. And now what we are going to be doing is I'm going to select run function. I'm going to navigate to my user. So if you want to if your wall panel needs to be, of course, under the specific user, I'm going to select, let's say parents, our user, and I'm going to be selecting the show panel function. So this show panel function is now going to be switching to the frame that I want, right? So we can go to themes, we're gonna go to cameras, and let's say I hope this is gonna be the one that's gonna be interesting, right? So and just show camera 2. And now I am in floor plan view, everything is normal, and I have a little camera here behind me that hopefully is going to detect my movement, see the text movement, and the visualization automatically switches to this specific panel. So this can be like like I said, can be applied to movement, camera, or anything else. You can go to the show panel, program task, select the show panel, function, and display whatever you want. So this is just a quick little tip, I guess, a little bit of information that because we got a little bit of surplus of questions dedicated directly to this, right? A lot of people are using, wall panels or somewhere in the building. And if you want, of course, you can add a notification as well, but then use the show panel to display exactly what's going on. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to be checking today is going to be a little bit of customization options for our visualization. So let me just quickly create a simple visualization. You can see, probably aware on how quickly this can be done. So let's say ceiling, kitchen, countertop. Let's add a dimmable light in as well. We could add some, let's say, shades. Let's say bedroom, or let's add living room. And we have, let's also add these. Okay, we can add those a little bit later. So we're all aware on the customization options and how you can customize each individual building. But the last time in the Skill Boost #1 training, there were a ton of questions on how you can, go around and change the frames and the panels and the buttons themselves, right? And the number one question was on how we did the tilt position in our demo that is online, right? And because a lot of people, they're doing exactly this. They're dragging and dropping the buttons into the visualization, but they are struggling to manipulate how this button looks, right? And if I want to add a shade, for instance, and if I want to do within one button both, up and down and also tilt position, people would go and drag and drop main, and then how do I put tilt in? There's no way for me to do, multiple values here. But the way you can add more options to your specific button is by selecting the frame, and I'm going to add another frame within this frame. So by adding this frame, I can now manipulate how this smaller frame is going to look. And of course, if I drag and drop my main into this frame, by default, of course, we have 5 rows and 1 columns, right? And if I want to change this, I would go to, let's say, 2 rows. No, let's say 1 row and then 2 columns, for instance. And now it's split in half. And now I can go and I can add tilt. And now you can see we have basically two buttons that are in just two functions basically that are within one button. So tilt, you can tilt it and you can put it up or down, right? The way the button is done for the demo project is actually a little bit different. So you would drag your main in, right? And we're going to be changing the columns to 1. So it's one whole button. It looks exactly the same as the rest, but we have more options for the smaller frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to enable the bottom menu, which is basically gonna, as you can see, it's now gonna be adding a smaller button at the top, but I can change the orientation to horizontal. And now we have a bottom menu that is on the right side. So that if I could drag and drop my tilt in, again, by default, we have 5 here, 5 columns. So I change the column to 1 and we have the tilt. The only difference that now I need to do is I need to just increase or decrease the scale of the bottom menu. And as you can see, we are now freely moving the right side. We can also go the other way around if we want, right? So now we can go and change it and scale it according to that. We can, of course, add the top menu, do the same here. This is also, especially, I'm just going to add just, just another one here, just so I can show you. One. And this is especially useful if you have, in many cases, people have, shades controlling 0 to 100%, so up and down, but you can also have, go up and go down. So this could be different values to go by specific values. So 10% go up or down, or you can have it like this. And you can apply this to, like I said, any button. The only difference that you need to always keep in mind is that if I select this frame, I'm not selecting the whole frame. I'm just selecting this specific button. If I want to have control of the whole frame, I always need to select this select holder. So you'll see the BOS will highlight the whole frame, and now we have the control of the whole frame basically. And if I change the orientation, you'll see that we have this type of view, for instance. So again, this kind of unlocks additional possibilities, additional options, additional customization values as well. So all of this can now be added in. We can play with other functions here if you want. So you can tweak it and change it as much as you want. In the latest update, I think we also showcased this, but again, a ton of questions on how the buttons look different now in the visualization. And in the latest 4.11 update, we also implemented some new features for our customization, basically. And the major one that was implemented is the color gradation, right? So by default, the lights are yellow. You control them up or down, dim it as much as you want. But here we have a color gradation, and if I select and enable this color gradation, you can see that I now have 2 color options. One is still going to be the yellow, so this is going to be the top value, and then we can change on how the other color is going to look. So if I go and select, let's say, red color, you can see that we are now having these color gradations from top basically to bottom, right? And you can apply this to a temperature, for instance, as well. So make it warmer, make it cooler. If you want this to apply not just to the bar, but if you want to apply to the whole button, you can enable the change back color to true, which is now going to basically, as you can see, it is now changing how the back color looks as well. So you can enable this. If you want to just do maybe the text, you can of course enable text. And then again, the text is going to follow the color gradation that we have selected there. So as you can see, like so. If you want to go a little bit further, you can also enable 3 color, which is now going to be the middle one. So we could do, let's select blue, for instance. So we have the whole color. And as you can see, the color gradation is now slowly going to go from red to kind of purpley blue, then to kind of green, and then at the yellow at the top. So again, this can be applied to the button. This can be applied basically anywhere that we want, right? Another thing that we, again, have a ton of questions about and has been around for, I think, forever is if you want to display custom values, custom icons, colors, depending on the value of the button. So to do this, I can go to here to status, and I can open up the status values. So, and I can open this function up. And now BOS will actually allow you, if you want, to have a custom color value text for every percent that we have in this value. So we could go from 0 to 100. You can have 100 different values if you want, of course. So let's say 0, we can add text. We can say, I'm just going to type something in, let's say false, or let's say low, for instance. I can have a custom icon. So let's say cancel. We can use this icon. Let's say we can use another one. Let's say for 50%. Let's call this one medium. I don't know how to write it. Medium, like so. Medium. Change the icon to, I don't know, this text value. We can, of course, I'm not going to play around with all these values, but you can change, of course, the text color, back color, all of the colors can be, of course, changed, right? And then the last one could be, let's say, 100. So at 100%, we're going to have full, for instance, or what we said, or let's say high, for instance. We have low, medium, and high, right? And now we can use this specific icon. And this is, again, can be applied to basically all the buttons, right? Movement, if you have, let's say, mode, for instance, or a fan speed. This could be, let's say, this is just a lamp, for instance. But now we can see at 100%. Let me just change the unit here so it's a little bit less crowded. High, and then if I go, it's going to be 90 because I didn't change it. But then at 50 is going to be, medium, and then at 0 is going to be low. And you can apply, and you can see the button changes, everything changes. And like I said, this can be applied to temperatures, fan speeds, movement detector, even in some cases, like if you have some movement detected, then you can have a specific, icon that pops up to show you what's going on with the movement. And this could be basically, applied to any button that we have in the visualization. Another question that we also get frequently is how I can add more options to just one specific button, right? In most cases, this applies to, let's say, an AC unit, right? You have an AC unit, and AC unit has option to go on, off, fan speeds, tilt positions, temperatures that are in. And you can, of course, create a separate separate panel that is going to be dedicated to all of these values that we have in the visualization. But you can also create a custom visualization and apply it to one specific button. So again, this is very, very easy to do. Here I have a AC unit here that's on Daikin. And of course we have on and off. So I can add it into my visualization, on and off. And of course, by default, if I go here and if I press it, we're turning the AC unit on and off. But if I want to add more functions, one thing that I can do is there are a couple of requirements for us to do this. The first requirement is that we need to create a control panel here, right? This control panel needs to be created for us to display the additional functions. So I create a control panel. And another thing that is required is we need to add a frame, because we're not going to be displaying the whole panel. We are just going to be displaying what is inside this frame. So I add this control panel, but just to speed things up, I'm just going to use this is one of the examples that is available on our website that comes with, of course, predefined visualization. I'm just going to steal a little bit this frame. I'm going to steal it, and I'm going to go to this control panel, and I'm going to paste it in here. So the additional functions that we are now going to be adding to our AC unit is going to be, of course, fan speeds, modes, set points, and we can have other options if we want, right? And now the way we can activate or see this control panel is we select, this is the AC unit. So this could be, let's say AC. Select this AC unit. And one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be enabling form here. And I'm going to be when I enable form, we can see that this form panel is visible. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to my control panel that I created. I think it was this one, control, and I'm going to select it. And now if I go to the visualization, this is going to work like before. I can turn it on, I can turn it off. But if I want some additional functions, I can select it, I press and hold, and I can see I am now displaying the additional options that we have. So I can, of course, control it on or off, change the fan speeds, change the mode, for instance, set point, way too hot, let's do 22, for instance. And all of these settings are now applied and can be used within the one button, right? So you don't need to have additional frame, additional settings for the AC unit, right? And the same thing that I showed you here, right? The frames and of course the customization options for within the panel itself, they can also be applied to our free position, right? So if I create a panel and if I change the positioning to free, I can here now add a frame, and exactly the same customization options are going to be available here. So I can now, like we did before, I could add our devices in. So let's just recreate the one kitchen frame, and I can create frame within the frame, and exactly the same thing that we had before can be added here and controlled. So main, and let's say tilt. And what we need to do is need to change the bottom menu to 1. And you can see that this is going to be exactly the same as we had it there, right? And I can move it. The only difference is we can kind of now, we have a free positioning. We can change how, the buttons are going to look. And we can use this free positioning here like so. And you can, of course, go in, move out, move it up or down, or have it on the right side since it's a free position, right? And now we have this exactly the same way you can use it. So again, you can play around, you can make it smaller, make it bigger, customize it, and change it as well. So let me just check if there's something that I missed. I think that is more or less the topics that we had prepared for today. Fortunately, we were quite fast, so we have some more time for some questions. But that is the idea of the skill boost trainings, right? We are not tackling the extreme basics, and we're not deep diving into some extreme logic and extreme tasks. We are showcasing and showcasing our tasks and asking frequently used questions, and also going over, what people are interested in and how to improve, optimize, and work a little bit better within your current project, right? Oh boy. So okay, so let me just check. We have what's going on. We have some so I see that a lot of them are being answered here. It's normal having problem with the video. So there's a lot of specific questions that I see here. Top menu, just let me just see if I have what I have here. So if you have a top menu as a description, how you can change the color of the text on the in the menu. So the top menu is a description. So one thing that you can change when it comes to the, let's see if I can play around with this specific one that we have here. Let's add lights, for instance. Not sure if I'm going to be able to change the text here. So I can change the back color. So if you want to change the way, let's say currently I have more or less kind of a black and white or white and gray visualization. If you want to change the text here, the colors of the bars, the colors of the icons, the colors of selected panels, all of this, all the customizations are available here in the main theme. Here in the main theme, here you can see we have the titles, we have the menu colors, form colors, frame colors, all the basically the color scheme. It is all listed here in the main theme node, right? So we can change the menu color to, let's just see what happens. We can go to green, for instance. In some cases, if you do change specific things, you may have to reload, or the client is going to reload. And as you can see, you can now tweak the top and the bottom menus. We can change the selected color. So by default, it's orange. We can go, let's say yellow, for instance. I hope it's going to be a little bit visible. It should either refresh. You can change this as well. So but this again, you need to keep in mind that changing anything in the main theme node, it is going to be applied to the whole visualization. One thing that I see that I skipped earlier when I mentioned the limitations within the project. If you don't want to hide the panels, for instance, if you don't want to hide the alarm or the other panels, you can always lock them, right? You can select the panel, let's say that you want to lock, and you can enable here locked and set this to true. And when this is set to true, and if you want to change the login password, you would go to the main home, and here you can see the unlock pin, right? And this is just to maybe still have this option, and in an emergency, the client can still control it, right? So if I go to the panel, it is, as you can see, it's locked, and I type in the login unlock password, and I can now access it and control it. Let me see. To add the task to sunrise plus 20 minutes. So I think the way you could do this, let's say, okay, so if you have, so there's a question, how to set up a task for a sunrise plus, let's say, 20 minutes, right? So let's say you have,
sorry,
yeah, oh,
I
yeah,
already have
here,
this.
yeah.
I will send you. Yeah.
Okay. You will what?
I will send you this. I will send you the file.
The file. Okay, there's a file for this. Yeah, because I think the way we can do it is you would, of course, use, let's say, if you have a program task with a bunch of different values that come in for sunrise, sunset, you can then add, I think, a small delay there as well, and then continue with the rest of the functions. Can we connect it to C-bus? I don't think we have support for C-bus. I'm guessing you're asking for Jigsaw if you connect it to C-bus, and I think the C-bus is supported just yet. Let me just see. Let me just open up the chat if there's anything there. Can you explain a little bit more the clone function on the template when it's good to use? Yeah, clone function is if you want to. I think it's the most frequently the way it's being used is if you want to use it in a lot of in many different cases. For instance, if you want to say to use you can use the clone basically to apply it and use it in a number of different panels basically. In the next skill boost that we're gonna be having, I don't know, probably after summer, we are also gonna be connecting some BACnet devices, and we're gonna be also tackling some of the areas. This is also some of the questions that we had in the past. Somebody's probably gonna send me something for me to import. Sunrise plus 20 minutes. Let me download this. So, and the way, of course, if you have an example, and if you have a template somewhere that you want to import into your configuration, you can go here to the import configuration and, of course, import the file in. So sunrise plus 20 minutes. So we have a program test there. So let's add it under our tasks. And let's see what this does. So here we can see we have time of day. Basically, we are checking the sun. Basically, we're checking the sunrise, right? So if the sun value is going to go to sunrise, so we have this, yeah, the sunrise value. We'll be checking this, and then we are going to be adding in the plus. Basically, we're checking the Unix time, and we're adding the 20 minutes, and then of course you would do this if, and then if sunrise is this, if this is also true, then you would run the probably the scene, I'm guessing, or your other automation tasks that you have. If you have if you have a, I see that there's a more of a support question there. If you have a specific question, a little bit of a deeper dive, you can always open a support ticket on a website. Provide, of course, as much information as can, screenshots, videos, and we'll be more than happy to help you out with your support question as well. So I'm gonna stick around for a couple more minutes here. So if you have some more questions to address, and you can write them down. And of course, if you don't have any questions, thank you for taking your time today and listening to the Skill Boost Training. I hope that it was informative. I hope that you learned a couple of new tricks, some new information, and maybe you will also utilize and use the other tasks in your project as well. Let me just scroll back if there's someone, because I see that Matitz and Flavio were quite busy with the with your questions. So Cbus, what else? Listed main ones in the questions. Okay, these were answered. Yeah, a ton of things that we showcase here. We have a dedicated step-by-step instructional tutorials that you can check. So these are they go from 1 minute to 15 minutes, showing you exactly how things are done. If you have a ton of, I think we have some other questions. When it comes to some third-party devices, we also have a dedicated. I think we hosted a webinar like last year or something, dedicated directly to third-party integrations, because they are a little bit on the trickier side, and they're not a super easy thing to implement, just because they do require additional knowledge that maybe go beyond just BOS, right? You need to know how specific commands are handled, how you can import it, how you can add it, how you can utilize the parsers and so on. So we did, I think it was like a 1 hour session that we had where we implemented 3 different APIs into BOS, kind of showcased what can be done basically. Are you going to make it without being online? I'm guessing local connection. Local connection is, of course, has been supported from the beginning, basically. So if you just have a Jigsaw in your office without online access, you can always connect it locally. So there shouldn't be a problem there. Do we have a lock integration? Yeah, excellent question regarding the lock. Dorm, KBA, Salto, Wingcard integrations. We don't have a dedicated example or driver for them, but if they do have an open API, we can have a discussion and check it out, right? If the device, if the camera, lock, whatever, has an open API, which means that the commands and everything is publicly available for us to use, we can implement it into BOS. Grabs to fill color set. Is there an option for the grabs to fill color set to gradient? Good question, good suggestion. Currently, we don't have the gradation options for our logs. So I'm guessing you want to, this is, of course, I'm running a demo project here, so the date, maybe the values here may be a little bit off. But yeah, color gradations currently, we don't have them in our logs, but it could probably can be added in. Maybe we can, if a lot of you are interested in the color gradations within the logs, we can probably write it down, maybe open a support ticket with our developing team, and yeah, maybe they could look also a little bit different. Yeah. So, but one thing that I can tell you is that our logs, so analog logs, data, calendar logs, they are all receiving a complete overhaul. So we have been aware that the analog logs and other logs are not the strongest point here, and we are going to be addressing those as well. So you can expect a complete overhaul, make it look a little bit different, make it work a little bit better in the future update as well. So we could maybe squeeze in the color gradation there as well. Is it possible to check panel password changeable from BOS also from the client, not just from config? Currently, no. It's also, you can change it only from the configurator. But if we're talking about, of course, the panel, right? So this is more of a security issue. So this can be changed within the configurator. The user password, yeah, like Jürgen answered, can be changed within the client. So you can change it here. You can go to your settings here, and here you can see the username and the password. So you can change it here. Just do not forget to also list the email address. So if for any reason you forget it, you can reset it, right? I'm not going to go too deep on how to reset it because we covered this the last time. But if your email address is listed here, you can connect to your server with any web browser and just follow the reset I forgot password procedure there. Also to integrate Home Assistant without setting up the individual calls for API. I don't think so. Currently, all the integrations are done via the calls and the API. Will you be releasing two-factor authentication for accessing? I don't know, it could be. We are always open for suggestions. We are open for suggestions if this is common request, and a lot of people will see benefit for this. We can always try and implement it and to see how this will work in BOS. And Home Assistant, of course, probably is going to could work via MQTT, yeah. So MQTT, again, I think we had a dedicated session, a webinar, so you can check it on our YouTube channel. You can check it. There we go, from basically from start to finish, how the integration with MQTT is done. So there's a link. Will Matter part of BOS? Yes. Yes, Matter will be part. It is planned. We are fully aware of the questions and the requests. The problem is currently also the Matter itself is kind of in the developing stage or baby steps itself. So it's a little bit, we're taking precautions and going slow with the integration because it's itself is quite early yet. So, but yeah, we have full plans to integrate it and use it as well. If you have other questions, you can always, visit our forum, ask a question there. Better yet, if you want to contact us directly, you can open a support ticket, and we'll be, like I said, more than happy to help you out. But okay, yeah, I guess this is it. Thank you very much. Take care.